Get them fired up and get them to the staging lanes, baby, because 8th Mile Apparel is now carrying Gleghorn Bracket Racing merch. Hats, t-shirts, hoodies, and much more can be yours today by visiting 8thmileapparel.com. We appreciate each and every one of you guys supporting the Gleghorn Bracket Racing YouTube and Facebook pages.
We are back live Tuesday, a little bit warmer outside, getting a little bit warmer every single day, which makes me feel good. It was raining all day yesterday, so I wasn't a fan of that, but it's sunny right now, at least for right now. February 13th, 2024, episode 144 of GBR Live. Every single Tuesday on Facebook and YouTube, and then it'll go to podcast a little later. Subscribe to Gleghorn Bracket Racing on your favorite podcast platform, and of course, Facebook and YouTube. But of course, is brought to you all the time for free, 100% free to the viewer by TSR Racing Products, Power Glides, Turbo 350s, Turbo 400 777 transmissions, BRG 3D printed parts, anything you need on your race car. You can't find a part for it, Brian Garrett can custom make it for you. Print that thing up, get it in the mail to you, and it doesn't weigh your car down. Syntex Printing out there in Temple, Texas. Shirts, stickers, T-shirts, brochures, anything you need for your business. He can get that ready for you. Driven Racing Oil. Best oil to use, especially when it's cold outside, like it probably is where you're at right now. Use that, that shirt that George has on right there. GBR 10 gets you 10% off anything they sell. They don't sell just oil. They sell lots of things. They sell brake clean. They sell transmission fluid. They sell all kinds of stuff. So go over there and don't forget to use code GBR10. Get yourself 10% off. Proform Parts. Visit proformparts.com for carburetors, alternators, starters, tools, much more over there at proformparts.com. Crew Chief Pro software. Get your new combination figured out before you can. I guarantee it. Contact Don over there at crewchiefpro.com. Get your dial-ins in order. And of course, if you want these cool GBR hats, these GBR shirts, we got tree chopper shirts now. If you think you can hit the tree, you think you're like Brandon Lane. George owes him a shirt still. I'm just putting it out there right now. If you think you can cut that tree down, let everybody know with those tree chopper shirts, man. I'm telling you, Junior Dragster competitors, you need to look at that too. We got them in your size as well. So 8thmileapparel.com. Man, George, what else? What do you got going on? You haven't even said anything yet.
Man, you had to do the entry, man. As always, Casey does a great job, doesn't he, y'all? I mean, give me a 1 in the chat if you think Casey does a good job. Just put a 1 in there. He's number 1. Nah, Casey, man, I haven't been doing much. Just working on Mo. Getting ready to add a few updates to him, and probably going to be going out to Texas Motorplex here at the end of the month and getting me a little bit of bracket racing on, because the weather seems to be breaking here in Texas. Like you said, it's a beautiful day out there. It's probably about 65 where I am here in North Texas. And we'll be somewhere around the 70s for all of next week. So I can't wait to be able to get out there and get some racing in and see what Omo's going to do this year, man. So, no, I haven't been doing much. Got a few clerical things to go over. As you all know, we partner well with some of the promoters of our sport. And as you know, TB Racing Promotion has some thing coming up here pretty soon. Starting off there at Derby City, it's already over. I can't remember who actually won that practice tree race, but it seemed like it was a good time. I want to say it might have been Hunter Patton, and it wasn't Hunter. So it wasn't Hunter Patton. Anyway, I'll figure it out. Somebody will let me know who won that race here before too long. But and then we're going to kick it off. Race number 2 is or event number 2 out there at Beach Bend Raceway for 100K. So have a look at the schedule. Make sure you get in where you fit in there with TB Racing Promotions. always throwing a very good program there for TB Racing. On the other side, we got CP Promotions coming in with some pretty good races there. Racers Appreciation and the Top Bulb Extravaganza coming soon. And looking forward to each of those races. I do believe GBR Media will be on the premises to give you guys a live stream of these particular races. So definitely just wanted to get a look at some upcoming events, and hopefully somebody from GBR community can turn on that last win light. Okay, so what we got going on today, man? I know we got a surprise guest for everybody.
Well, yeah, man, we got the guy who only had a few problems over there at No Problem. There's always something, but he made it look real good. We got Mr. Ryan Gleghorn, the man, the myth, the legend over here. So, Ryan, now, let me tell you this before anything. I think you might even have taken over Galen Rollison's position as the most seen person on GBR right now. How's that feel?
Wow. This is my third time being on GBR, so wow. Yeah, I know Galen's been on here quite a bit, and you've had some more guests that have been on here more than once. So cool. I work with Galen a lot, so I have to add that onto some stuff whenever I talk to him.
Like, get over his head.
Even more credentials.
Yep.
Man, tell us a little bit about this race, man, because word on the street is these Patton boys might actually be good at racing.
Yeah. Southern Big Buck Nationals, powered by the Hose Connection, wrapped up this past weekend, and it was, there's no other way to say it. They're dominated by the Patton brothers. Hunter Patton getting the win on Friday, Mosier Friday, put on a clinic there, and then Derek actually runnered up the shootout race to Donnie Burleson. Hunter beat Dylan Rallison in the final. Dylan's a tough racer out of the Monroe area, got a 5-0 dragster, put up some really good results the last 2 years. A young guy, I think he's 19, something like that. So maybe a name that we'll see further down the line. And then White Ezel won, no box, rolled in at 4 cars, got him a nice bonus, got him some nice cut there. And then we rolled into Saturday, and man, it was Derek had 2 in at 8 the day before and lost them both. And he lost one in the re-entry round. I was like, man, he had such a good day the day before. Hopefully he can battle back. But, starting your day like that, it's rough. It's rough to come back from that. And he sure as hell did, and come back and win that 25K over a really tough Glendale day. People have probably seen Glenn before. He hits the majority of the big money races everywhere. Usually his dragster has a big blower on it. Took the blower off for this year, was wheeling the Nova for most of the weekend. And Derek, this is well overdue for Derek. I've known the Patton brothers my whole life, and I've said it for years. And I think people finally saw it this weekend. We all know Hunter. I put it in my post yesterday. His list of accomplishments are a mile long, and he'll go down as one of the greatest that have ever staged a race car. His brother's just as good as he is, in my opinion, and that might be a hot take. I don't know. But Derek is very, very good behind the wheel of a race car. He went to 20 finals last year, won 16 of them.
Jeez.
Wow. And the thing is, just to put it into perspective, I was talking to, and you probably know the true stats on this because I know how you are with those. So TJ Pruitt was live for a lot of this stuff on drag coverage.
Yes.
And I talk to TJ Pruitt all the time. I text him probably, it seems like every other day, every third day, every week. And I said, man, I feel like I'm seeing this Purple Maverick constantly this weekend. How many rounds has he won? And he said the word on the street is between 42 and 46 rounds. And then he won the semifinals. So there were 2 more rounds won, whatever that was. But let's say on the low side, it was 42. That means 44 rounds won that weekend. That's unbelievable in a door car at that.
Yeah, and that was a short week too. It's only a 2-day race. So for that little Maverick to go that many rounds, it's tough. And I can attest, seeing the screen, I may not have been calling the laps, but I was watching them. It was tough out there. He was getting by with some really, really good laps, and there was equally as good laps on the side of him. Derek performed great, and it showed. He come out, if we would have had an MVP award, he would have won it. But he did come out of the weekend with the points lead. which we can get into that a little bit later. Yeah. But great performance by both of them.
Absolutely, man.
Absolutely. I know you did mention there that you had to shorten it, and I do believe that was just the threat of weather that was lurking around you guys just for a little bit, if I'm not wrong there. Kind of explain the thought process behind shortening it. It seemed as if the race ran really, really smooth. With one race getting over pretty early and you guys going straight into some shootouts. So talk to us about how you feel the race went as a whole, especially kind of highlighting those who weren't able to join in and actually running an event thrown by Flicker Promotions this time.
I felt the weekend went really well. Not a whole lot of major issues by any means. We got rid of Sunday whenever we felt like the latest we could make a call was Wednesday morning. We got guys driving 10, 12, 14 hours to come race with us, especially this early in the year. We don't want them to get out here, and on Friday we pulled the plug on the whole deal. That's not fair.
Right.
Me and Johnny and Madison, we're all racers. And, we wouldn't want to go to a race and get treated that way. So
right.
Wednesday morning when we looked at forecast, Friday was clear and Sunday didn't look too great. So we just made the decision that we were going to take Sunday's money and we're going to split it up between the 2 days. And it turned out beautiful. I mean, it was mid-70s, sunny. It was a great weekend to be at No Problem Raceway. Like I said, the crew there at No Problem, they do a fantastic job. I mean, the racetrack was on point. You can go look at anyone's logbook, and if it wasn't repeating, they probably had a problem with their hot rod. Our staff did a great job. Have to commend, obviously, Johnny and Madison. They do a great job. My staging lane guys, Jacob Burrow, y'all might know Josh from racing around. This is one of his older brothers. There's 4 total Burrow brothers, but me and Jacob have been best friends since we were 8 years old, and he's come help me, and his wife as well. Maddie helps the registration. She does a great job there, and our back of the lanes guy, Bo, he does great. My 2 announcers on the weekend really end up being 3. Adam Jakubchek, who y'all have probably seen with the TV promotion stuff, he works with me there. He drove all the way from Illinois. Can't thank him enough. And then a guy that we're going to be talking about a little bit later, Jake Hodge, and his son Easton. I call him my nephew. They got on the microphone and helped us out there as well. So can't thank any of them enough.
Right.
Yeah, man. This is something I believe we were talking about it either last week with Brian Loans or the weekend previously, but the fact of what you just said, thinking ahead of time and thinking, hey, we need to figure out how to run a proper race program that's fair to everybody, that's set in stone before everybody gets here, things like that, or people who may be on the way here. That's the type of thing, and I always go back to who we were talking about previously, Galen Ross and Britt Cummings, Tommy down there at Gulfport. Nothing but good things are happening down there. And that's why I think that y'all's program with you, Johnny, and Madison run so well, because the racers are in charge. You have been in the position of showing up to tracks before and everything gets rained out. And yes, weather, we can't control the weather. But at the same time, you can control what should happen in this race to make it work out, because you still did a whole lot of racing out there. It was right. 1 day short, but you still had the races. They got completed on time. Thankfully, there were no crazy oil downs, things like that. But then you had shootouts on top of it. You had a lot of extra stuff to make it worth everyone's while of being there. Yeah, they lost a day, but they got just as much racing in my opinion.
Right.
Yeah, we had some extra shootouts on Saturday, but the ones on Friday we pretty much always had in mind that we were going to do. And I think by the time that we finished everything, it was like 8:30, right, which is great for me. I'm in a new aspect of my life where I used to be out all night at the racetrack. Nowadays, if you called me after 8:30, I'm probably not going to answer because I'm usually in bed by then. Right. So for us to be done that early was awesome. I mean, the average person doesn't want to race till 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. We all know that. And our goal is try to get done as early as we can. But even with shootout races, get done at 8:30, I think it went great. From my end, obviously you get some people that don't like certain things. You're not going to make everybody happy. But a lot of positive reviews coming out of Belrose, and hopefully we carry those into the Motorplex in May.
Absolutely.
And let's get into this points program, because we had, I want to say, our first show of the year. Actually, we were talking a lot about what you guys are doing for the points program, because you didn't start out a small points program, man, and you personally were a part of one of the most exciting points programs in bracket racing in recent times at VMP. And you guys really stepped on it here. You're like, man, we're going to pay 20 spots. Nothing seems to be less than $1,000 value. The winner gets one of Johnny's chassis, which Johnny is very clearly stepping forward. I mean, I'm sure obviously you looked it over, but we were in IHRA's booth looking at Johnny's dragster that he built for Donnie. And that thing is for sure one of the nicest cars you could possibly purchase. And the cool thing is, with Johnny's stuff, he did all of it. Like, built the car, painted the car, wired the car, everything is Johnny's stuff. So you have a one-stop shop, as far as I'm aware, whenever you get something from him. But I guess tell us a little bit about what's even involved in putting together that big of a points program, because I'm sure you had to make a whole lot of phone calls to get that to happen.
Yeah, we kind of started having this idea. We knew that we were going to try to get a second race at the Motorplex, and they already had the big bucks race at No Problem. And we're like, what's a way to tie all these races together? That way they're not just random races happening throughout the year. And we come with the points program, and I kind of tossed out the idea. I was like, what would it cost us to do a dragster? And when we got the number together, I'm like, I think that's feasible. I think we can make that work. And after that, it takes a lot of great people to make it happen. The three of us have been working with these companies for a long time. Johnny in particular, me and Madison joke, Johnny doesn't usually get involved with the race until like the week before, right? They got all this other stuff going on between Ezel race cars, and they got rental properties. They got a lot of stuff going on. So
he's got a high-end racing program of his own to do.
Right.
Yeah. So it's usually just me and Madison working on the race stuff, and then Johnny comes in 7 days before. Well, this year Johnny got really involved in reaching out to these companies and getting these prizes, and I was blown away with all the stuff that we come up with. I mean, obviously you got the race car sitting there first, you got a gold card that goes with it, half off a wiring job from Raceworks, came with a Regal body, innovative glasswork scoop. If you are a House of Pain customer and you have one of their starters, you get a starter identical to it. If you're not a customer, you get a gift certificate. I think it's $100 or $200, something like that. And then, you start going through second. You got Stainless Works headers kit. And then you got a Mosier 40 spline center section, aluminum center section. It just keeps going and going and going all the way to 20th, where we have our This Is Bracket Racing Elite 3-month membership, So if you come and support these races, more than likely, if you go to all three of them, you have a really good shot to end up with something at the end of it.
Yeah. And what's best about that, and as far as I would say, is it's only 3 weekends. You don't have to follow you don't have to dedicate your entire racing season to running over here, running over there. And especially in your vicinity, that's all in the same general region, 2 of them being at the exact same place. Anybody who races at Texas Motorplex this year on a regular basis has no reason to not to participate in this.
That is correct.
But don't you think, well, I mean, you've implemented it, so I'm sure that you probably do think at least somewhere along the lines of this. As a racer, not a promoter, as Ryan Gleghorn, the racer, if you are, for example, in Derek Patton's position right now, you're going to come to all the rest of them. If you're somebody who's in, 30th place right now, you should probably consider going to the other races. It would make you want to be a repeat customer, having a valuable points program that pays that far back.
Yeah, Derek came to me before we ever started the first race of the weekend and goes, I want that dragster. Derek's been racing a long time. I know Derek really well. He's creating a variety of race cars, but he's never had a brand new dragster that was his. Neither have I, but he wants it bad. He texts me probably 3 or 4 times over the week and goes, I want it bad. So obviously he's already committed to it. But yeah, no, if it's not out of the realm for anyone to win this deal still. Derek has 162 points, that's 16 rounds. If you showed up this weekend, the minimum amount of points that you got was 30. 13 rounds across the next 6 actual individual races. That can be done. I've seen a lot crazier stuff happen. I saw Stevie Dustin come from 35th in a day to win the deal at VMP that first year. So
now, are you doing the points program how VMP does, where it's the half points if you have to buy back?
Why you steal my question? That's what I was going to ask.
Yep. So obviously, I was part of that. I'm still a part of that program. Tyler's still growing the triple threat deal as well. And I love that half point deal. It puts such an emphasis on first round. And growing up at Texas Raceway, and really at any place in DFW, we didn't have buybacks. I don't think we got buybacks on a regular basis until, I don't know, Dallas Raceway came around like 2010, something like that. Like, buybacks really weren't a thing in our area. So I love there being a big emphasis on first round. Like, first round means a lot. And it showed this weekend. You saw some people that went a lot of rounds that didn't end up with a lot of points, and that's going to affect them through the rest of the year.
And that's great too, because the race we're talking about in particular at VMP had it been a typical points program where no matter how many rounds you win, it's the same amount, Porgaletti would have easily, hands down, won that deal. Maybe LeBouse could have got him if he would have went a little further. But the thing is that, Stevie Dustin, absolutely no chance. But the coolest part, again, about having the half points program, that means there could realistically be somebody in 60th place right now that just goes on fire the next 2 races and could end up at the top.
I ran all the points that was Sunday night, and I was looking through the names, and there's some names that are down there in the hundreds that still have a chance. They're very capable of turning on a whole lot of win lights. So it wouldn't shock me at all if someone came from 70th or worse to come up to at least finish top 5, if not win the deal.
Yeah, and the thing is, you only need to get to 20th to really get something, because there's not a bad prize, man. Like, when I was talking about this, George hadn't even seen it yet. I'm pretty sure it was our first show after Christmas. And I was telling George, I was going through and I was trying to, I'm not going to read off all 20 things, but I'm sitting here looking through and I'm saying, man, there's this. And I start reading and I'm like, man, I've already read 10 of these. I can't read all of them. It's going to be boring for everybody. But the point is there's no bad prizes in this entire bundle. I mean, like I said, it seems like the minimum value is $1,000. So anybody, it's realistic that somebody who didn't attend the Belrose race, if they came to both the Texas Motorplex races, then it's realistic they could end up in the top 5, isn't it?
I think it's a real possibility. There's some names that couldn't make it for whatever reasons they had, and I have a really good feeling they're going to show up at both of the Texas races. One that comes to mind, Jeremy Heffler. He had one of his main guys at Best Deal Services go down, and so he actually had to work for once. And I know he'll be at Motorplex races. I mean, he's the IHR world champ. Of course he has a shot to come back, and he's going to at least finish somewhere with a prize, or if not top 5, or if not win the deal. You could have someone like Austin Williams come in and have a really good 2 weekends and do really well. There's a lot of people that that couldn't make it. No, I know there's a lot of people that race cars weren't ready yet. Yep. I can't tell you the amount of pictures I got of hot rods with no motors, and I'm like, man, we really were planning on coming, but I just can't get my motor back in time. Well, it's going to be back by the end of May, and I think we're going to see a lot of those cars roll in and try to battle for those spots once we start the Stampede.
Man, Dylan Champion here, longtime follower, pretty good friend as well. He's pretty tall. I know you know him because we all hung out a little bit out there at PRI. But he's saying you need to bring that program out there to North Carolina, and he'd thank you later. He's He's right, of course. If you can get out to North Carolina with something like this, I'm pretty sure it would be a hit as well. But talk to me though, Gleggy man, and it's kind of along the same lines as what you just mentioned. I'm not for sure how many Texas racers showed up to the race there in Belrose. I know that I saw the Upper Jesse racer. I saw the Farmar boys, I do believe. I know I saw Burleson and some of the others. But talk to me how that's going to actually increase just because the race is at Texas Motorplex with names like Austin Williams and Heffler, like you mentioned there, heck, Jake Howard. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to actually end up at this Texas race to mix it up. You can actually see the ones who done well in Belrose, and this isn't any knock at anybody, but there's going to be even more competition come Texas Motorplex based on how many people might have been missing. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it was, as I started going through the tech cards, it looked like the majority of our racers were actually from Texas.
Nice.
Even though from where I used to live in North Texas, it's a 7-hour drive to get to Belrose.
Right.
But they all made the commitment to come to South Louisiana because they wanted to get that head start. They wanted to make sure they got those. Hold on just one moment.
Oh, he's getting a call.
In the call.
Happens. All right, hang on a minute. He'll jump back in here in a minute.
Yeah, Ryan might be getting some more sponsors. You don't know. You don't ever know what happens.
And he might have had to answer it too, because it just happens like that, guys. So bear with us. We'll get him back in here. Look,
There
he's
we
pulling
go.
up right now.
Hold on. Yeah, sorry, my
There
wife
he
tried
is.
calling me.
Uh-oh. That's what happens
Better
when
answer
you get
that one.
married.
People, they came from Texas. I mean, the Farmer boys they go to school in Lubbock.
Right.
You know, that's 12, 13 hours to get to Belrose. Benny Gossett came from San Angelo. You know, that is not a short trip. You know, and they all came and they want to be part of this points program. You know, so whenever it does come to Motorplex, you know, it's kind of in their backyard. They have a lot easier way to get to this championship. Glenn Dilday, who ended up runner up on Saturday, he's from Kansas City.
Right.
He's coming to the Motorplex. He told us before he left, he goes, I'm chasing this deal. You know, wow. So it's going to be interesting, especially when you get all these guys that didn't get to make it, like Mike Baddo, who's super solid out of West Texas, Josh Burrow with his S10. You know, once he gets his stuff back going, he's going to be a contender. You know, like you said, Jake Howard on the bottom bulb side, Aaron Jones, who ended up winning 2 of the days on the bottom at Stampede last year. You know, they're all going to be contenders in this deal once it gets to the Motorplex.
Yeah, no, and we didn't even mention the Pennington boys because I'm pretty sure 1 or 2 of them are going to show up at the Motorplex as well. Not to mention a few other heavy hitters. I mean, there's just enough going on around here. I'm looking forward to it, and won't get to race myself, but I'll sure as heck be in there with a pretty good view. I can tell you that much, you know, and definitely looking forward to that. Glad you got something together that could include an area so close to home for me, man. So from me to you, thanks for putting on something like this close to my home base. Like you said, North Texas, if my car was ready, about 6.5 hours to Belrose. So it would have been something I'd have considered as well with a hot rod that's ready to move. So
Yep, and we're looking forward to having GBR Media stream both of our races in Texas this year. You know, we came in, I think you did your first ever stream at one of our points races at the Motorplex, and it turned out great. And I think it's going to be even better once we get over to May and Stampede.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward. You do have the quarter-mile shootout in one of those races. I'm correct about that, right?
Yeah, Thursday. So last year we were going to run it, I believe, Saturday night. Mm-hmm. Well, we got an abundance of race cars that showed up on the property. End up with 389 entries plus about 40 junior dragsters that showed up, so over 400 entries. Got a little limited on time for things. So this year, you know, that the quarter-mile shootout's dedicated to my grandpa, Lynn Gleghorn, who was a big proponent of quarter-mile bracket racing. So it's something I want to do for him. I didn't get to have it last year. I still have the trophy. I still have the big check. It's still sitting at my grandma's house. Nice. So we went ahead. We're going to do a test and tune on Thursday, and we're going to run that quarter-mile shootout on Thursday night. And I think that's going to be really cool for people that haven't ever got to experience long track racing at the Motorplex at night. There's nothing like it. There is nothing like being able to go 1,320 feet at what is my favorite racetrack. And especially when you get later in the rounds, the lights are on, you got your buddies, parked either at the quarter mile finish line, which is probably the best watching spot you can get anywhere, or they're underneath the tower, and you roll underneath the tower to come out to all of this. It looks like, like a Roman Coliseum when you roll out there. It's such a cool feeling, and hopefully we get to present that on Thursday this year, along with all the other great races we're going to have.
No,
I can't.
Go ahead, Casey.
I can't wait. I was just going to say, I can't wait to see that, because I talked about that a ton last year, and I was disappointed. I understand totally why it had to happen. It was great decision on your part to cancel the extracurricular activities, essentially, to make it better for everyone else for the rest of the weekend. That was a great idea. But it was a disappointment, because I wanted to see, I wanted so badly to see Darian Bosch run somebody down at like 6'10" or something like that. Because I don't know if his dragster or his door car. For those of you who don't know, Darian just won the 50 grand top sportsman deal down in Florida. Nice. And then our one of our other guys, Matt Daddis, won Superstock in Butner's car, I think.
Yep.
So bracket racers versus the world, we're still winning. And don't forget, Bo, NHRA Pro Stock champion, also bracket racer. Dave Connolly was in the finals of Pro Stock, bracket racer. I mean, we could go on and on with all that. Clay Milliken was in the finals, bracket racer. Just saying.
Yep.
But yeah, go ahead.
That's the second one of those races that Daddis has won in like the last 8 months.
Wow.
He won the TB deal in
St. Louis.
Bo's brother-in-law's stalker.
Bo just needs to put Matt on the road for that. I mean, you wouldn't find in my opinion, a better, more capable driver, and especially in that style of a car. I think Matt would fit in with the NHRA crowd because he's a very well-spoken type guy. He's a very sponsorable guy. I mean, obviously, I'm not saying anything Bo doesn't already know.
Right.
But at the end of the day, man, I would love to see Matt really be able to follow the tour.
Yep. But no, yeah. So we're going to take a quick break here. We're going to give a few moments to our marketing partners, allow them to show you what they got for you. Make sure to stay with us. Hit that share button. Hit that like button. We're going to get into a conversation that may be fresh on everybody's mind at this point. And I'm not talking about a shot clock that has anything to do with basketball, one of my favorite pastimes. No, I'm talking about a drag racing shot clock. So hang in there. When we come back, we're going to get off into that discussion.
BRG Motorsports 3D printed racing parts are able to provide you with whatever you desire to enhance your drag racing operation. Items like safety belt magnets, nitrous bottle holders, and even quick release delay box mounts are able to be obtained from BRG Motorsports 3D printed racing parts. Have a look at top selling items such as helmet hooks and steering wheel hooks, which are proven to make it easier to maneuver throughout your race car. You can contact BRG Motorsports 3D printed racing parts at telephone number 765-729-1177.
Our third-generation slim wireless vehicle scale is worth the wait. You can read cross weight, side-by-side weight, and front and rear weight, in addition to the standard weight for each wheel and total vehicle weight. You can also view on the included backlit LCD screen, complete with control buttons. The full-size 15 by 15-inch aluminum scale pads are only 1/5/16 inches thick. Each pad can hold up to 1,750 pounds for a total scale capacity of 7,000 pounds. We've completely redesigned our best-selling thermostat fan to make it even better. Proform's high-performance universal 15-inch electric fan is the perfect upgrade to replace the stock fan in your vehicle. It's equipped with a thermostat that's adjustable from 160 to 240 degrees. Mounted to your radiator supports with sturdy brackets and driven by a heavy-duty motor, this unit pulls up to 2,800 CFM of air with a 14-amp current draw. All mounting hardware and wiring are included.
All right. Welcome back. Going Bracket Racing, episode 144. I don't know if Casey mentioned that in the beginning, but 144 episodes in the GBR. I can't thank you guys enough being part of the community, coming in and giving us your 2 cents, giving us your opinions. I expect nothing less with this next topic. Let it fly, guys. I want to hear what you got. Let's talk about this shot clock. Of course, we can't be here without Ken Jones' Performance Crew Chief Pro, Driven Racing Oils, Proform Parts, Team 14 Motorsports, Syntex Printing out in Temple, Texas. I got your package, by the way, and just showed up the other day at my house. Thanks for the new stickers there. BRG Motorsports 3D printed parts, and 8th Mile Apparel, not to mention TSR Racing Products. So you guys, if you need anything from any of our marketing partners, we'll definitely reach out. We'll get you in contact with whomever you might to reach out to and get you squared away. But as we continue on episode 144 of Going Bracket Racing, we get the honor of discussing with our special guest today, Mr. Ryan Gleghorn, somebody who's pretty near and dear to the guinea pig, is what I'm going to dub Jake Hodge. Going to implement for the first time in bracket racing that I know of for sure, a shot clock in between each pass. So get them warmed up, guys. Get those keyboards moving. Casey, you want to start us off, or you want me to start us off with your thought process as to how the shot clock is going to impact bracket racing industry?
Well, it's been talked about for years now. I mean, at least 2 years now. And Jake Hodge is usually pretty good about not really having a problem with implementing first-time strategies with races. He's, whether you like Jake or not, he's the perfect guy to implement this, because I think he's the one that will actually stand behind any kind of disarray it might cause, to say the least, and say, this is the rule, it is what it is. I guess it's something that is needed at times and isn't needed at other times. I don't know whether, I think this is more of a preliminary run, and Ryan's going to be the perfect person, because I know he's constantly in contact with Jake's one of his best buddies, to ask him kind of what, I'm sure Jake ran it by you, Ryan, just the fact that he was thinking about implementing it. What did Jake have to say about it?
Actually, he didn't.
Really?
I found out when everyone else found out. Now, this isn't a new conversation, though.
Right.
This has been going on for a while. I've had this conversation with a multitude of people, with other promoters even, trying to figure out, how do you make it work? When you said Jake is probably the perfect person to be the guinea pig for, you're exactly right. I love Jake. He's one of my best friends. I will be the first one to tell you, he is very able to take the criticism of whatever happens.
Yep.
So if someone likes it or doesn't like it, he doesn't get too high, he doesn't get too low. He's going to be just fine taking whatever you have to say, and obviously making it better too. Yep. I think this is something that will probably get implemented at other places if it does go well, like I think it will. And there is times that it is needed. There's been multiple times I've been calling races, and I'll be calling between pairs, and I'll look down or whatever, and I think, oh shoot, I missed a pair, and I look up and it's the same people sitting on the start line. It's like, man, like, how long are we going to take here? Yeah. I'm not a guy that takes a whole lot of time, so and I know people that are. There's
go ahead.
No, you're good.
Okay, yeah. I'm definitely wanted to throw out there before we keep moving here, because it's something that I feel like shouldn't necessarily have to be said or reiterated over and over again. But we are people, and everybody has an opinion, and everybody's opinion matters to said person. But let's have a little bit of grace with this process, okay? Because it is brand new to our sport. I see it both ways. I see it both impactful and also a little bit of some negative sides to it. But that's the name of the game here. This isn't a foolproof process that we have an understanding of how it's going to work. But it's definitely something, especially that needs to be implemented at tracks that have curfews. Okay, we already are up against some type of a clock in the first place. Yes. In Jake's defense, having 500 cars at the Working Man 10 grand, you got to have a way to finish that race in Xenia, Ohio, at Killcare, okay? So it's definitely something where I feel like, if we attack this with a little bit of grace, a little bit of constructive criticism, we might be able to steward this thing into a really good method of getting races finished. Me personally, I love the idea all the way up at least until the 4th round. Okay, let's keep cars moving down this track. If we have to shut it down after 4th round, well, by that point, the race is pretty well moving along in the first place. But 1st, 2nd, 3rd round, definitely, in my opinion, we got to have a shot clock out there. I'm getting some comments in the chat here, and I see a lot of people saying it won't affect them. I see Kevin Little here. He says, if Peter Biondo hasn't used one, it's not needed. And maybe he's right. You know what I mean? For spring flings or summer flings or any other of the fling that's thrown, or wherever track he's throwing it at. There's a lot to unpack here. What are your thoughts, guys?
I will say this on the last comment you got. Not every promoter is in the same situation. Like you said earlier, some tracks have curfews. Jake has a curfew at Killcare, and it is a strict one. I think it's either 11 o'clock or midnight. That place has to quit running race cars. Yeah, we can't fire them up until 9. So you have this small window to get this race in. You get a race with a whole lot of cars that, typically Killcare brings has a great community of racers in itself. You bring that plus the ones that Hodge brings with them, it can get to a tight situation. So I think a shot clock there helps a lot. If you got a racetrack that doesn't have a curfew, it doesn't that doesn't hurt. Vegas doesn't have a curfew. Bristol does, but it's a little bit later. I think it's 1 a.m.
Right.
So not everyone has the same situation. I've been really lucky at the Motorplex. Currently, we don't have a curfew. Obviously, I abused that last year, and I apologize 9 times over for it. But in a situation like at Texas Raceway, it was midnight forever. I've made passes at Texas Raceway rolling through the shutdown, and at 12:00, lights are off.
No.
So
No. Yep.
I would say the overall goal of the shot clock isn't really what everybody thinks that it is or believes it to be. It's not to put a shot clock on each pair. It's to put a shot clock on the guys who want to have a burn down, because for some reason, every once in a while, you get a guy that this guy isn't going to stage first no matter what. And this guy isn't going to stage first no matter what. And this solves that problem, because those rounds sometimes take 5 minutes. And then for some reason, then that'll happen again in a couple pairs back. And now all of a sudden, people don't realize 5 minutes times 6 people throughout just the race. It's going to happen at least, say, 6 times throughout the race. That's 30 minutes.
Right.
Right. That screws a lot of stuff up. That's the difference between getting the finals done. What if we have an oil down at the very end, like happened at Loose Rocker last year, and we were getting up on curfew at Galot, and now we can't finish the race because we got to clean this up. That 30 minutes means a whole lot to a lot of people. And I mean, that better than a lot of people, just being involved in the tower as much as you are.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I will say the one at Galot, it's pretty strict as well. Back when they had their last their last track manager there, Ben, we kind of went through the history of how that came to be. And, a lot of the times, and it's an overall issue, just not even just a bracket race, but drag racing in general. A lot of times, these racetracks got built out in the middle of nowhere, and then town came to them. And,
like Vandermeer.
Yep, like Vandermeer. You've seen it with all these tracks that get shut down. So the cities, instead of just telling them, well, you can't race because, our population is mad at it, they put a curfew on us. Which, for us as racers, we don't understand, but we look at a grander scheme of things, like it's a compromise between the racetrack and the city. Does it suck for us sometimes? Yeah, whenever I have a whole lot of cars, but things like this, I think, are going to get us closer to not only not touching that curfew as much, but also putting us in better graces with these cities. That maybe, we can push that curfew back a little bit longer, or, in certain circumstances, these racetracks or promoters can call the city back, hey, can I get an hour? Can I get 30 minutes, something? Can I get, and the more times that we don't touch those, the more favorable decisions go our way.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And this is a good comment over here in the YouTube chat from Barn, who everybody knows from the Motor Mania chat. One thing you don't have to wait. all right. So anyway, let me just say this. He's basically saying people don't come to lanes when they're called. So what do you think about this whole shot clock idea, but being put on calls? Because I know I've heard you 1,000 times, Ryan Gleghorn on the mic, final call. You need to get up here. In my opinion, obviously more than ever, cars are doubling. If your car is not capable of making it double entered, then, I mean, we were talking even before the show started about how you handle double entering a car on gas and things like that. You need to figure out how to make your car be capable of being double entered in 7th round. You need to get up there.
Yeah, especially it's more of a problem early in the day. It's really more of a problem whenever it comes to having time runs. No one wants to be the first one goes down the racetrack every day, or very few people want to be the first pair that goes down. And so they wait till they hear someone go up there, and then they'll kind of look around and, okay, there's 2 or 3 guys up there. Now I'll go. And then the flood happens. The rest of the field shows up.
Mm-hmm.
What we've done at Flickr on how we call cars, we've separated them into groups, and it's really limited down. I didn't have that big of an issue getting cars up there this weekend. Didn't have to, yell and yell and yell to get people up there. For the most part, everybody came right when we said, and I think that helped a lot. And for the doubles, what it did is it gave them time. They gave them a class in between to come back around with. So it separated that out long enough. And then at 16, we combined everything. But no, I think there's definitely ways to get around the double situation for sure. The early morning deal, maybe if you did put a timer on it or a set time, like, hey, you have to be in the stage lanes by, we're supposed to start at 8. If you're not in the lanes by 8:15, you're not going down the racetrack. I know the first ever guaranteed million, we got pushed over into Monday, or was that Sunday? I forget which, but we could not get door cars cut there. I bet you I called for door cars 25 times, and it was finally like, okay, if you're not in stage lanes in the next 30 minutes, you're not going down the racetrack.
Car up.
And all those guys that were going to plan to wait to run with dragsters flooded to the staging lanes.
Yep. And that's, go ahead, George.
Yeah, pack your car up if you can't get to the lanes on time. And I think that's what Casey's hinting at. Now, I'm not for sure. I know Casey's mentioned this, but there's a track close to him. When he says final call, a couple minutes later, there's cones in the way. You are not getting in the lanes. And if that's the way it's got to be to keep the flow going, hey, more power to you. You know what I mean? I got a comment here from Randall Blinston over here. He's asking a question. I think all of us might be able to have an answer here, but he says, what happens when you have a staging battle and the guy waits to the last minute to go in, or the last second, Randall should be saying here, the last second to go in, and the other one can't get in time? That's going to be an easy red light situation, guys. If I'm not mistaken myself, I read the rule. You get into a staging battle and 60 seconds elapse and both of you aren't in, well, both of you are going to catch the red light. That's just the way that's going to work, if I read that right. Did anybody read it any different?
That's how I understand it. It's how it's been explained to me. I used to be a guy that I didn't want to go in first, but in a situation like this, I'm making for damn sure that my stuff's staged before that clock hits 0.
I'm not getting timed out.
I have a question.
I'm not getting timed out. Go ahead, Casey.
I have a question. And this is probably going to be a very common question, because time to time, car will drip oil in front of you, starter gets out there with a rag, wipes it up real quick. Does that clock then reset? I mean, obviously it has to, right? Because if you got a dragster here and you got one dragster does a burnout, the other dragster's got to do a burnout. Dragsters don't have front brakes. They have to do an over-the-line burnout. You don't need to go 100 feet out, but primarily dragsters do over-the-line burnout.
Yeah. Shouldn't even go past the tree, for crying out loud.
I mean, it's still a minute, though. I feel like, I've driven dragsters a lot, and I just can't imagine not being able to get in the stage beam in 30 seconds, even with the burnout.
I believe it's in the rules that was written out for it, but I believe that if they have to go out there and clean up something, they pause the clock and then start it back up once the cleaning up is over.
I like that. I like that too. And here's a question that I know everybody's going to ask, and we may not have the answer. Maybe we probably need to tap Jake Hodge on the shoulder and say, hey, man, come on back on the show. Let's have a quick conversation about this. But One question that I know is going to get asked quite a bit is, where is the clock going to be positioned? Is it going to be above the dial-in boards when you pull into the lanes? Is it going to be out in front of the track somewhere, or you just ain't going to see it and you better get your behind in the doggone beams? You know what I mean? So I don't know. None of us may not have an answer to that question, but we probably all have an opinion.
Yeah, he said it was going to be visible. So that tells me it's going to be somewhere. I would feel like it's going to be somewhere near, like at least in the direction of the Christmas tree. I don't know for sure where he's planning on putting it at. But I look at that both ways. More, I kind of don't want to know where it is.
Yeah.
I'd rather not see it and
That's
just go through my normal deal.
my thought. Yep.
The average pair, I mean, is staged and ready quicker than 60 seconds.
Mhm.
But on the flip side, like if I'm having an issue and I'm trying to get, my stuff going, if I can look up and see where, okay, I've got 25 seconds to get this thing in the beams, I think I can do that. Cool. It gives me enough time to roll forward and get in.
Yep.
At least
Well,
I have that comfort of knowing.
what I think is, I almost think that you could say there's a 60-second clock and not even have one. And I don't think you would ever have anybody have any issues. I don't even think you would need to physically have the ability to red light somebody after 60 seconds if you just said there was one and everybody thought there was.
I'd actually challenge that, because I do feel like it in some cases, even if we talk about the burn down case, where you're probably right, there's maybe 6 per race, if that, guys, right? But there are some slow draggers. I'm going to drag my feet getting into the stage beam. Matter of fact, the pre-stage beam out there at the racetrack. You sit there, you bump it forward and you stop. You bump it forward and you stop. And you bump it forward and you stop. But you got to clean your glasses up, prettify yourself, get your jig on. Then you bump it again. Then you bump it again. Oh, finally, you pre-stage. Even that itself was only like 20 seconds. But I feel like he's going to run into that shot clock, and I hope that the conversation goes well when that red light comes on and the guy comes to him, hey, why did you red light me? Well, you ran out of time. I hope that conversation goes well for him. I hope they televise it as well, because I want everybody to hear that conversation. Get you behind in the beams and let's go drag racing. That's what I feel. I don't think there's any other way to really put it. Let's go. And another thought I had here, and maybe this would help a little bit, but I think they're saying it's roughly a minute between each pair. If we go red light, and this is maybe off subject, but if we red light, let's not just get off the gas and coast from 60 foot all the way to the doggone end of the track. Carry a little bit of speed. I know you're trying to protect your stuff, but let's carry a little speed down the doggone racetrack so we can keep moving.
As soon as you took off from the starting line, that's the hardest thing on the entire car anyway.
Let's carry that down the track a little bit, right? Just the little bitty things are what's going to help here, right? I don't want to see anybody get timed out, right? So, but if it happens, I want all the details, all of them. I'm about to text Jake after this to make sure he give me the inside scoop if it happens. So,
yeah.
Hey.
I don't think the clock's made to like single anybody out or anything like that, but I think we can all sit here and we can think of one person at our local track or one person we see on Motor Mania or something that they take a little bit longer. If I think eventually someone's going to get hit by the clock, and like we said when we first started talking about this, I think Jake's the perfect person to handle that situation.
I agree.
I think he'll handle it really well.
Professionally, and then he'll be well understood at that. You know what I mean? He's gonna tell you, shot clock got you. What else can you say to me about the shot clock that I told you was in place in the first place? And then walk away. You don't like it, load your junk up. That's how I feel about it too. So I hope that's kind of how he handles it, in my opinion. So interesting. It's definitely obviously everybody. It's gonna take some manipulating. A little bit of maneuvering and a whole lot of grace. So bear with him when he goes through it, and you'll see probably 400 or 500 cars at Kilcare again. I won't be shocked with working man $10,000 to have that many racers.
One thing's for sure, we're going to know if it works or not after this race, because everybody's been talking about it forever, and this might be something, Peter Biondo and Kyle Seipel, I think, were the first ones to really start the ABC type thing and things like that, ABCD. And then they started separating door cars and dragsters and had a huge showing for that. And I mean, ultimately, somebody's got to be the first one to try something. Now everybody does it. Right. Almost everybody separates door cars and dragsters now. Most people, you were just talking about yourself with Flickr. You guys started calling groups and things like that. I mean, someone's got to be the guinea pig to figure it out. I'm glad Jake's implementing it. So now we'll know if it worked. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. And we'll get to see. But maybe this is something 5 years from now that we're going to be like, man, why didn't we have that all?
Right. And don't be shocked, guys. Community, everybody listening. I won't be shocked if 60 seconds is just too much time and the clock gets moved down. I got Kevin Grader here in the chat. He's saying he timed a few cars at the Southern Big Buck Nationals, just timing them to see how long it took from one car to cross the finish line to the next one to be staged and ready to go. And he seems to think it's not going to impact very much. And so don't be shocked if that timer comes down a little bit, to keep us moving. And get up there, get ready to go, and do your thing. What y'all got in closing, man? It was a pretty easy conversation, a little bit easier than I expected to be real. But as you've both said, this has been a realized thought for a long time. It's just nobody's ever implemented it.
Yeah, I got corrected on that. I thought it had never been done before too. Apparently, there was a track in Maryland. I was corrected by Alan Glatt, and they had a shot clock. It was this huge. They still had a 5-bulb tree, but there was this huge clock that sat on top of the Christmas tree. So they had it at one time, and then they got rid of it. But it'll be interesting to see how it works in 2024, and if it, like Grider said, it's not going to get hit a lot. I don't think it's going to have a huge difference in how people stage or anything like that, but it'll definitely have it on people's mind to maybe get in there, 2, 3, 4 seconds quicker.
Yeah, just a little bit quicker. I like it. Casey, what you got in closing, man? It's been a pretty good show today. And definitely special shout out. Gleggy, thanks for joining us, man. And kind of off the cuff having a conversation you might not have been prepared for, but you handled it like a champ, as I figured you would.
Oh, man, just another week, man. Another week closer to racing. Potentially, Kinston's going to have Winterfest this weekend. I saw some people talking about that in the chat over here. We're hoping for the best. Of course, it's supposed to be nice all week and rain on Saturday and then be fine on Sunday. So we'll see if that changes. If not, Galot has their first race of the year next week. They got Tess and Tune on Friday, and then we keep calling it the Cupid race. I'm not sure exactly what the full thing is, but anyway, they always pack out their first race of the year. People come from all over the place out here. Galot's always going to work. It doesn't matter if it's 30 degrees or 80 degrees or 100 degrees. It's always going to work. But it's single entry only, top bulb and bottom bulb. I don't know if they have juniors or not. I'm sure they probably do. So that's what I'm hoping to get to no matter what. So Cody Strickland got me some fuel coming. So Cody, I need my fuel, man. So whenever you get a chance, just bring that on up to me. If y'all need any fuel, Cody Strickland's got a deal with BP right now. So give him a call. If you don't have his phone number, text me. I'll tell you how to get him.
Hey, guys, thanks for joining in with us. Gleggy, thanks for coming on the show again and giving us some insight behind Flickr. Looking forward to the next couple of races here out at the Texas Motorplex, and I'm also looking forward to your bracket program out there at the Texas Motorplex. So we're going to see you around quite a bit this year, as we always do, and hope the best. Everybody, thanks for joining. Hit the like and share. Till now, we'll see you guys next Tuesday. Have a good one.